Um, I decided to talk to you guys about moving from confusion to clarity because one of the reasons was, how many of you guys are on Facebook? Okay. So on Facebook, don't you just love when they like show you these awesome memories that you've had from like 5 years ago and stuff? They like to pull up memories. For those of you who are not on Facebook, when you wake up in the morning and you open your Facebook, a lot of times it'll say, here's a memory. Just thought you might want to share a memory from 5 years ago. And I'm reading posts from like 2009 and I'm going, who was I? Like, it's like complaining about the kids being in school and my schedule was crazy. And I was like, great, now we've got to do football and student council. And literally, like for 5 days in a row, a couple weeks ago, that was everything coming up on my memories feed. And I was like, there is no way I am sharing this. Who was I? So I thought it was interesting. And then the fact that we were talking about this month, just like getting back to being in a centered place because school's starting. And so really it's just a little place for us to like pick up on and go, okay, people are feeling like they're kind of back in the grind or like going back into a place where life is cycling around and they need to be centered. So that's why we wanted to focus on that. And then I'm looking at my posts going, wow, I really needed this talk. I really needed to have this conversation a long time ago. So today I'm going to share some things with you that I've learned along the way, and I'm interested in like connecting with you and getting some feedback from you because I think we've all been here. And I know Angel last week was talking about like clearing out, like getting space where you can get to a clear place and feel centered again. And you guys did some exercises together. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about clearing the inner clutter and picking up off of where Angel was talking last week. And the point of it is that there's a space in us that does have answer. There is a space in us that there's clarity and there's clearness. And then there's the other space that we usually cycle in and out of, which is swirling around in a madness of all kinds of things. And I wrote down that it's our inner wisdom that is often like muffled, like a hand put over their mouth, in an attempt to help us get to the clear place. And it's all these other things going on that are keeping that voice quiet. And really, it's just our thoughts. I sat and had lunch with my son this last week, and he's in college. He's a sophomore this year, and he has a dream to move to Colorado. He wants to move to Colorado and go to school in Colorado. And he's like, I just want to be in nature, Mom. He went and stayed with friends in California this summer, and they went to Yosemite, and he just felt peaceful. He felt happy. He's like, that's the happiest I felt in so long. Like, that's my place. I just want to be there in nature, and I feel like Colorado would be a great place to go to school. All of these wonderful reasons and things he's thought about it. And as soon as he told me what he really, really wanted, he started telling me all the reasons why it wouldn't happen. Well, I don't know about this, and I've got to apply, and I don't know if my GPA is high enough, and I don't know this, and I don't know this, and I've got to find out this. And I sat there and listened to him, and at first I was so excited for him to share what his dream was, and then I was panicked, and I thought, oh my God, this kid is acting just like me, And that scared me because I thought, this is not what I want for my son. I want my son to feel confident in what he wants to do and just go after it. And so, of course, I was attempting to buoy his confidence and say, look, you can go. You can go and do this thing. And I started listening to him, and then that brought me to this. And there are some things that happen to us when we get lost in the chaos, that we get lost in the confusion. Let me just ask this question. Has anyone in this room ever felt confused? Or thought you were confused, rather? Anthony's got 2 hands and a leg up back there. I mean, I don't think I'm the only person in the room that could say there's been times when I've believed that I was in a state of confusion. And so there are 5 things that I wanted to point out to you guys that I think happen to us when we get kind of in this swirling space of confusion. And like I said, this is all a thought process. These are thoughts. So if you ever say, I feel confused, I'm going to have to say, I learned recently that you are not able to feel confused. Confused is not a feeling, it's actually a thought. So when you're saying that, just remember, actually, I'm having a thought that I'm confused. So here are some areas where confusion sets in. If you ever get in any of these spaces, just know you're headed into the land of confusion. So the first one is shoulds. When you start contemplating all of the shoulds, should I do this? Should I do that? I should have blah, blah, blah. I wish I would have done this. And we sit and we contemplate and we think of all the things we should be doing or we shouldn't be doing. And I have a friend that I admire and respect, and he recently said something to me, and he's like, no one wants to be should on. So get out of the shoulds. And so that's one space. If you start feeling like you're in the should place in your life and you start having those thoughts, this is warning, you're going into the land of confusion. And then the second one is fears. I mean, we know fear is a huge hinderer to us moving forward in our life. It hinders us a lot of times because of all the things that come up. And as children, we have the fear. I think they say that babies have a fear of falling. And so, like, they have a natural instinct to, to preserve their life. Basically, everything else that comes in after that is stuff that we learn along the way. So things that happen to us because of our relationships with our parents and with friends at school, all those kinds of things. Then we build up thoughts in our mind about what we are afraid of. And the interesting thing about fear is that it's usually irrational and overreactive. I mean, I think I would say that that's been true in my life, probably in yours as well. And fears are usually really about protecting our ego. It's not about protecting our physical well-being. It's like there's this part of us that it's down deep inside of us, and it rears its ugly head, and fear thoughts creep in an effort to protect us. It's actually like, don't do that, don't do that. So fear comes in and starts talking and creeps in. So when you start having fear thoughts about what could happen, what might go wrong, how this could, harm you, or what it could mean for your family if you did this, then you're like next level in, going into the danger zone of confusion. And fear makes it difficult, really, for us to be clear. And it's one of the biggest creators of confusion, I think, at least in my experience. And then there's critical thoughts. So thoughts that you're not good enough. Thoughts that you don't have enough information to do what you want to do. Thoughts that you might make the wrong decision, or you might not be smart enough to go and do what it is you want to do. When you start having critical thoughts of yourself, critical thoughts hinder us from taking risks. Critical thoughts hinder us from pursuing our dreams, because it means we've got to step out a little bit. We've got to do something that we've never done before. And so when we start having critical thoughts, again, that's another place where we just spin around, and it really creates a huge state of confusion. And then there is other people's opinions. So when we start weighing other people's opinions, or what we think other people are going to think or do think about what we do, what we say, how we are, how we behave, we're totally like sinking deeper and deeper into the state of confusion. And again, these can all be happening at the same time, and probably they are. You're probably not just trapped in one of these crazy thoughts. And then there's the belief about what isn't possible. Or I like to call it the realm of realistic. When you start having thoughts about what is not possible, and you get stuck in thoughts about, I need to be realistic. Anybody ever had that thought before? Like you desire a thing and you're like, well, I need to be realistic. And so being realistic even is a hindrance to getting you to a place of being clear, because it's just compiling and adding to all of the other things, the shoulds, the fears, the other people's opinions, all of these things are working to create this place that we have thought was a feeling place of feeling confused, when in actuality, it's all thought, and all of it is just keeping us in a swirl of confusion. So I'm sitting with my son, and I'm having this conversation, and he's telling me what he truly wants to do, and then all the reasons why he's not sure it can happen. And I realize in that conversation, he's thinking so much. Like, there's so many thoughts going on. And I said, Colin, you're thinking so much. Like, take a breath. And he's like, Mom, I'm thinking because I'm smart. And I said, you're too smart for your own good. That's the real problem. I was reminded in this conversation and in this thought process, it's so hilarious. Like, I'm getting ready to do this talk this week, and I'm going, I feel a little bit confused about how I should talk about confusion. I'm not sure. Anyway, Proverbs came to my mind, and this was one of my favorite sayings as a child. So Solomon has been said to be the wisest man that ever lived. I can neither confirm nor deny. All I know is that that's what's been said. He wrote a book called Proverbs. So these are like the best fortune cookie sayings you could ever come across. They're really good. So Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, I had to memorize it as a small child, and so it stuck with me for a long, long time. And at the time, I don't think I really knew the full gist of what the verse was saying. So I'm going to tell it to you today with new understanding in. So Proverbs 3, 5 says this, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And the word Lord is spelled in a really funky way whenever you look it up because it's referring to your essence. It's referring to who you truly are. And so if I asked you, who is the Lord, your answer would be what? I am, you know? And so when you are connecting with your I amness, with your essence, with your source, with the truth, when you trust in that, that is like where you can start to see the sun shining through the clouds of confusion. And so it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And then in a particular translation, it actually says, never rely on what you think you know. So it's separating out this trust of what's going on the inside, this connection to your essence, and then all the thoughts that swirl around up here, out here, that keep us separate, at least in our mind, in our thoughts. And so that was really like, oh, wow, you know, I've known this saying for so long, and now, look, this is how it's pointing me in the right direction of moving from this chaotic, confused state to a place that's really clear. And having that conversation with my son and him telling me, Mom, I'm doing this because I'm so smart. There's no way I'm going to just step out and do something. I'm too smart for that. And that's when I said, you're too smart for your own good. You're creating your own confusion. You're creating your own roadblock. Mark Twain says it like this. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And how many times do we do that? We get ourselves spinning around in all the things we believe we know. Well, I know this, and I got to do this, and there's this thing, and all the reasons why what we say we're truly in connection with and what we truly desire is an impossibility or is not for us or whatever. And I was reading in The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which is such an amazing book. If you get the chance to read it, I really encourage you to do that. He says, you are cut off from being, capital B, E-I-N-G, being, as long as your mind takes up all your attention. So your mind is the place where your thoughts are happening, right? That is the swirl of thoughts that are happening. And so when you're stuck in that, you're disconnected. You're out of touch with what's going on. You want to talk about being realistic. You want to talk about reality, what's here and what's now. You want to be disconnected from that. Just let yourself sit in your thoughts for a little while. Because then you're in a state of confusion. You're going. Has anyone else in here, okay, I'm going to say that this has happened to me. Anyone else in here ever felt like you were on a hamster wheel with your thoughts? You started thinking a thought, which led to another thought, and then another thought, and then you ended up right back at the thought you started with? Okay. That's called confusion. And it's terrible because there's times where you can literally feel trapped by your thoughts. So Eckhart Tolle refers to that kind of thinking as compulsive thinking. Now I have a label. Now I have a label to put on all my crazy thoughts. I am a compulsive thinker. And so I've moved through this thing going, I do this a lot. And then I say that I'm feeling confused when that's not true. The confusion is all in my thoughts. It's a thought that I'm confused. It's a judgmental thought that I'm confused. And so this was really an eye-opening experience. And anybody else in here, have you ever been able to sit and listen to someone else talk about their situation and what's going on in their life, and you can clearly see the path they need to take? You can see it from where you are. Yet, when you are in your crazy confusion, it's like, it's real. The confusion is real. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. I really need answers. I really need this. And if someone else attempts to give you the answer or to show you the right way, you're convinced they don't know anything that they're talking about. It's funny how we do that. The thing is, the reason we can see it for other people is because we're not attached to all the thought that's going on. It's really powerful for us to see that and be aware of it because it's available to us in our state of confused thought. I wanted to give you an example. I really wanted you to have an experience of getting into the place of beingness. So Eckhart Tolle says, you know, when you're all wrapped up in your mind and that's where your attention is, you're disconnected. He actually says in the reading, you're disconnected from your body. So we can take this a step further, and I can tell you that whenever you are caught up in your thoughts, you're out of touch, number one, with what's going on presently. You're not in the now. You're not even aware of probably what's going on. And how many of you, when you're caught up in your thoughts, do your thoughts ever produce a feeling in you? Do you ever get an anxious feeling in your stomach maybe, or like a little bit of stress in your chest? And then when you feel that, what do you do next? Anybody want to tell me when you felt that feeling? What have you done next? Sigh. You take she said take a deep breath. What did you say? Okay, so then it moves from stress to anxiety. Okay. Anybody else? Why would you take a deep breath? So she said she realizes she's not breathing. So then, you know what just happened? She said, I had a feeling that this was going on, so I sigh and I take a deep breath because I realize I'm not breathing. Where is she realizing that she's not breathing? Her mind. So from the feeling back to her thought. That's what we do. We go from our thoughts down into a feeling, and then we have the feeling, we're like, oh, I need to fix this. I have this feeling in my body, I got to fix this. We don't stay. We don't stay in what's going on. And so we're constantly problem solving, right? We're problem solving. We're getting back into the vicious cycle. And so that's just what we do, you know? So it's about being present. So I asked Jamie to do an exercise with you. I'm going to have her come, because I wanted you to get this experience of, and you probably have got a bunch of thoughts running around in your head right now. I'm talking, and your brain is processing what I'm saying. So there's probably a lot going on, and your brain is firing off. So I really wanted her to do this with you, because I think this will give you a better understanding of taking a minute and being present.
So this is super appropriate for me to be doing this, because this is something I've been needing in my life these days. School has started, and I homeschool my kids, and so we've got a lot of things going on that I'm responsible for. And activities and functions and classes to get them to and all sorts of things. And so all of that lends itself to me being able to allow myself to be anxious. And I haven't felt that level of anxiety for a long time, so I'm having to go back and go, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to fix this? But the good thing is I do have some things in the bank that I've practiced before, and I'm able to go back to them for this reason. And the funny thing is, I was telling Jodi this morning, I woke up this morning at about 6 o'clock feeling anxious. And I'm like, for real? Like, I'm going to go to the connection. We're going to talk about, how to not feel confused and anxious. And here I am. I woke up at 6, like, just swirling thoughts. And then I joked, but, with my kids, if they are in a mood and they want to be around everybody, then often I'll just send them, go to your room until you feel calm and you feel like you can be with everyone. So I sent myself back to bed at 6 o'clock this morning. I was like, no, you're in no place to be with everyone else. Just go back to bed. So I did. And then I was able to come back to the land of the living with a much clearer mind. But then even just getting ready to be here this morning, I started feeling myself thinking of all the things that needed to get done and all the tasks I had to accomplish before I even left the house. And so I actually did this exercise this morning, and it helped me so much. And afterward, I was able to think much more clearly, and I feel great today. So this works. If you will, if we could all just kind of close our eyes and get comfortable where we are. If you ever are feeling confusion, having swirling thoughts, this is a wonderful and easy thing to do. Just with your eyes closed and in a still posture, if you can just focus on your breath, and that's it. Don't worry about any thoughts. If you start thinking a thought, focus on your breath moving in and out. hopefully you're able to feel a slowness and a peace just like that. To take it another step further, now in this calm place, if you would focus on your hand, pick a hand, focus on your hand, and just feel there's a slight vibration in your hand. There's an energy moving through your hand. And in fact, it's moving all over your body. But if you focus on a hand for now, and just feel that. That's a real simple way for us to be in touch with our body, our spiritual self, our real self. And just doing this and slowing yourself down a bit and focusing on your energy that's running you can bring just a pretty instant peace. You can open your eyes now whenever you're ready, unless you're feeling really great and you just want to stay there. Like I said, I did this morning, and that was so helpful to me. And I think it's one of these practices that we kind of forget sometimes. It's simple. It doesn't have to be difficult. But when you can come to that place, then you're better equipped. Just like the child coming out of his room, now able to be kind and happy to everyone else. You can then begin to order your thoughts from a peaceful spot. I hope that helped.
It did help. This week I've been practicing that very thing, and I wasn't sure exactly how she was going to do the exercise. I just know that for myself, I realized in myself that I spend a lot of time in my thoughts, and I rarely am acknowledging how I really feel. And then when I do have a feeling similar to what you guys have expressed, like a feeling of anxiousness or anxiety, that I go back into my thought space and go, I need to breathe. I need to take it easy. And I start talking to myself like, Jodi, calm down. It's not real. You don't have anything to be afraid of. It's all good. Everything's going to be okay. And so then I'm just swirling around from my feeling and escaping my feelings, going back into my thoughts. And so that's so important what she just shared with us and had us do, because when you brought attention to your hand and did anybody feel the energy in your hand when you did that? What else was going on? Anybody want to share what else was going on whenever you brought your attention to your hand? Did you notice a shift in you at all? Energy everywhere else? Anybody else? Was there a peacefulness that happened? Maybe not yet. You might have to practice it a little bit more. The thing is that it is something that you want to do on a regular basis, and you can do this while you're driving. If you notice when you're driving, with your eyes open, please. Yes, please. Well, I don't know. Some of you might be better drivers with your eyes closed. I'm not sure. When you're driving, that's one of those spaces where I realize that I'm thinking the most, that I get lost in thought. Any of you drive from home to work and get to work and go, I don't even remember taking the turns? Yeah. So your subconscious is doing the driving because you've done it so much, right? So what are you doing? While your subconscious is driving your car, what are you doing? I can pretty much bet you're lost in thought. You're daydreaming, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. So now bringing an awareness to that, when you're driving or in any other situation, you can actually practice this. When you start feeling yourself lost in thought, you can immediately go to, what does my hand feel like on the steering wheel? Just the sensation of your hand being on the steering wheel can bring you back into the present moment. It can bring you back into a place where clarity is possible, and you can escape temporarily those confusing thoughts that want to swirl around. So I'm glad that you did that. And then allowing yourself to be confused. So when we allow this to go on, or we say this on a regular basis, I just don't know what to do. I feel confused, or I think I'm confused, or whatever the thought is. Allowing ourselves to be confused and trapped in our thought causes the one thing that matters most to us to be missing in our life, and that is an awareness of our truth, an awareness of who we really are. See, staying in a state of confusion keeps you so disconnected from your truth that it's easy to just be confused about everything, So the continuation of that proverb, the second verse to it, so 5 said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. So trust in the connection to who you truly are. Trust in the I am of who you are. And then Proverbs 3:6 says, in all your ways, in everything you do, Acknowledge that. Come back to that. And that is where clarity shows up. It says, and it will make your path straight. Anybody ever wondered, how do I move forward? I'm not sure what step to take. I'm not sure which direction to go. And you feel like if I could just see it, if I could just know for sure what I needed to do, I would take the step, right? Where does that clarity come from? It comes from what we just did. It comes from moving ourselves out of this realm of chaotic, swirling thought into a space where the truth exists. Because in the truth, in the essence of who we are, it's clear. The path is straight. It's easy. We know where we're going. So that was so encouraging to me because, like I said, I've known this saying for so long, and then I was able to relate it to something that's real in my life. I've realized how confused I sometimes feel and how I stay in this state of, I'm not sure what to do, I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid to make the wrong decision, all these crazy things. And that's not the truth of who I am. The truth of who I am is clear. The truth of who I am is present. The truth of who I am knows for sure the step that I take is ordered. It's specific. It's okay. And I wanted to share that with you. So having done all that, I left you a piece of paper, and there's a little pen there. And if you want to write these down, you can do that if it's helpful to you. There are 3 questions I thought were really good that once you can clear out. So listen, when you get into the thoughts of, should I do this? Should I have done that? What should I do? You know, that's a thought that's leading me to a state of confusion. When you're afraid and your thoughts are based in fear, you know that's leading you to the state of confusion. When you're thinking about what other people think about what you do. And when you're thinking about being realistic because you're concerned about what isn't possible, you know all of those thoughts are a trap. And when you can acknowledge that and when you can be aware of it, now you know what you can do to bring yourself back into a present state where you're connected to your beingness. So in that connected space where all the clutter is cleared out and you're going, I know what those thoughts are, I'm not going to let them suck me in. Here are 3 questions you could ask yourself in a clear state. So here's a question. If I could have it any way that I want, and anything is possible, how would I want it? If I could have it any way I wanted, and anything is possible, how would I want it? So whatever it is you're contemplating and saying that it is this way, and you're not sure what to do, and all of these confusing thoughts come in, when you can get clear, you can ask yourself this question. If I could have anything that I want, and anything is possible, how would I want it to be? Sometimes, especially when you get trapped in fear thoughts, a good question to ask is, when you can clear that out and realize what it is, what is the truth of this situation? What is the truth of this situation? And then the third question that you can ask yourself, which is one that I really like, is deep down, what do I desire? And I had to bring Colin back to that question at the end of our conversation. After I heard him tell me this long, long list of all the reasons why this was going to be difficult for him to accomplish, I said, okay, let's come back to what you started off with. What do you really want? What do you hope to happen? What is it that you really want more than anything else? And he's like, I really want to go to school in Colorado. And I was like, stay right there. Just stay right there. That's the truth. When we get in alignment with what we truly desire and we can answer these questions and go, what's the truth of the situation? Listen, when you get in a swirl of fear thoughts, what's your biggest fear? What are you afraid of? And then you ask yourself the question, after you say what you're afraid of and go, well, why, what if that happened? Then what? And then you answer that question and then you go, well, what if that happened? Then what? And you come all the way down to the worst possible thing and realize you're nowhere near the worst possible thing that could happen. You can say, what's the truth of this situation? And so that can bring you to a place of just being clear, even if it's just for a minute. I have been so thankful for just the little moments of clarity and making me feel like I'm not crazy. I haven't lost my mind, you know? So I'm sharing that with you today. I truly hope that this is just the beginning of a practice that will help you, first of all, be aware of the fact that, you know, in Corinthians it says that God is not the author of confusion. So when you're in that state of confusion, you know that is not coming from the essence of who you are. It's not coming from source. It's not coming from divine mind. That's your thoughts. Those are your egoic thoughts. Those are your fear thoughts, and you can remove yourself from them very easily by getting back into being present right now, right here. Feeling. You're in a body. Don't forget that you're in a body. We sometimes get so lost in our thoughts and in all these contemplations and these concepts and these ideas that we completely ignore that we are here in a three-dimensional world, where we are interacting with each other right here, physically. And we came to do that. We came to express ourselves this way. So to ignore it keeps us disconnected from our truth. So in times of confusion and in times where you're not sure, come back to clarity by being just connected to the truth of who you are. Remember these things. Remember the shoulds and the fears and other people's opinions and being realistic. Remember that those are a trap. You guys have a wonderful week, and I look forward to connecting with you again next Sunday, 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Actually, we're going to be in the park. There's a big group of us that are going to be in the park doing yoga. So we will see you. We will see you next week. Thank you, guys.